To better understand how rising interest rates could impact business, I'm joined by Jim Moore. Jim is the founder and CEO of the Washington Institute for Business, Government, and Society. Jim, it's good to see you again. Thanks for coming in.
Glad to be with you.
Let's talk about your expectations for Wednesday. 25 basis points built into the market already. No reason to expect they will deviate from that, is there?
No, there isn't. And, clearly we are writing economic history right now as a result of what's not just happening with COVID, but also in Russia and Ukraine. And that is going to have, I think, a dramatic impact over the next year. We've never really seen a situation like what we're experiencing right now in our lifetimes. The notion of being able to have a country like Russia, which spans over 11 time zones and has had the kinds of sanctions, severe sanctions that have been imposed upon it, we just have never seen. And so I think it's going to be an unpredictable period that we're going to have to live with for the next several months at least.
Picking up on that, I've read that the Fed could raise interest rates as much as 7 times this year. Your thoughts on that?
I think that's fair. I mean, again, we've been in a situation where we've had record low inflation and interest rates, and now we're beginning to experience a much different scenario. It was just a matter of time when we would see interest rates go up, and Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, has certainly made it clear that we could be looking at something as much as 2.5 percentage points by this time next year.
And of course, we know that number is built in, but everyone is going to pore over the statements that the Fed makes following Wednesday's meeting. Very important to look at the tea leaves, so to speak. So what will you be looking for?
Well, I'll be looking to see whether or not we're on track to be able to have the market absorb literally not only this upcoming rate increase, but also increases into the future. That is going to have a dramatic impact on goods and services and what manufacturers and others do in terms of anticipating what exactly they're going to be selling in goods and services.
You touched on this a bit before, but I want to go into it a little more in depth. All this was in motion before Russia attacked Ukraine.
Sure.
So how is the conflict going to affect the U.S. Central Bank?
Well, it's certainly going to it's going to put lead in their pants when it comes to saying, look, we've got to be able to steady the ship. There is predictability in the Federal Reserve. The question is the predictability of the marketplace, and trying to really lay this out and to give the market an idea as to what the Federal Reserve is going to do is certainly going to help to calm the waters a bit. And that's going to be, terribly important for not only the United States, but certainly for Europe and the rest of the world.
I think a lot of what you just said, people want to hear: steady the ship, calm the waters. But inflation is also at a 40-year high, and we know PPI comes out tomorrow. We know food prices will show some kind of spike. What does this trifecta of news mean on Tuesday ahead of the big Fed decision?
Well, it's going to be a tough situation. I mean, can you imagine what we've just gone through? We've gone through over 2 years of having dealt with this pandemic around the world. And then all of a sudden, here in the United States, at least, we're beginning to see the pandemic in the rearview mirror, although other parts of the world remain having problems. But then all of a sudden, we think we're out of the woods, and we're all of a sudden entering into this period of uncertainty because of the situation with Russia and the Ukraine. So we're really getting doubly whammed as far as the economy is concerned.
And Jim, also people do say that the economy's on solid footing right now. And I think we all get the logic of interest rate increases, keeping inflation from spiraling out of control. But as we heard in Owen's really good story there a moment ago, what do you tell homeowners, families struggling to keep gas in the car, food on the table? They don't want to hear this.
There's no question. We have had over the past several months, I think, a leveling out as far as the economy is concerned. And there's been a lot of good news up until the time we saw what happened in Russia and Ukraine. But there is no question that when a home and the ownership of a car are the two most expensive things that most Americans, most individuals own in their lifetimes, to be able to realize that the inflation rate is going to increase the cost of those homes and the costs of those automobiles is going to be very, very rough. And so this is going to be an untested period. Again, we've never seen anything quite like this. To go from a pandemic to go to the critical crisis that's going on right now in Europe, we just have never quite seen before. And these sanctions that have been placed on Russia are going to create havoc in and of themselves for us.
Well, okay, now what if these efforts to control inflation don't work? I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but there is a lot on the line.
Well, there is a lot on the line, and that's why you've got to have very adept and agile Federal Reserve when it comes to just trying to anticipate what that market's all about. Certainly, this quarter percentage point that has been discussed for Wednesday has been discussed for a while, and so the market has already absorbed that, and I think the market is already anticipating the kinds of increases that we'll see in the months to come. But if things get really rough, that is going to take really all of the talents that we might be able to muster to be able to figure out how exactly to address the problem.
You know, Jim, one thing, if the market doesn't like is to be surprised. I think you're exactly right there. So we'll keep an eye on that. Jim Moore, the founder and CEO of the Washington Institute for Business, Government, and Society. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Sean.